So today we will learn about the grid system. Okay. Let me quickly share my screen and get started. And also, don't worry about the screen नहीं दिख रहा. Starting में नहीं दिखेगा, but later on you will see that screen also. So it's a very interesting lecture and a very important one about the color theory and the introduction to UI design. Reason being, UI is the first thing that comes to mind when we say UI is the color, correct? It's the color. So that's why that particular lecture is very, very important. And the reason why I have that guest lecture, that recording, is because he is with me for more than 10 years and he has worked for all the designs at my agency, yeah, where I work. So that's why I wanted his lecture specifically for the course. Because of the schedule, I cannot ask him to give the lecture again and again. So that's why I have that recording. So in fact, I also have a specific that right away on the call itself. Send the link. Yes. Ah, okay, I'll send that again if I find that. Where did I post that lecture on my channel? Yeah. But it is extracted from there only, so no worries about that. But still, so I think it's the same one. We haven't yet uploaded that. Oh, I see. Okay, so I have edited it, but I have not uploaded that yet. So maybe you have to watch the same one. Anyway, so let's move on to the grid system. Yeah. Let me share my Vimla file and then go ahead. Yes. So to start with, when we design anything, right, there is a grid for it. Now, why do we need a grid? We need a grid because we want things to be aligned. वरना क्या होगा ना, randomly चीजें हम अपने अंदाजे से place करेंगे. We will just keep it randomly here and there. So we don't want that. And also, while development, the developers also use a grid system, which is just like what we are going to see today. Okay. So first thing is, when we design, we first take the artboard first. So we take our standard one 0 by center. Okay. Now, if you observe, the websites are usually in the center. If you open up Apple, if you open up page.com, even different websites, so you see the content is always in the center. There are a few websites whose content is all spread out, but most of it you will see the content is at the center. So now, how do you decide that how much should be the center, right? There should be some rule for that. Because if everyone starts their own grid, there won't be any consistency and the developers would cry. You know? So that's why there's a standard framework that is used by all the developer almost, which is Bootstrap. Okay, so I shared a link last week of Get Bootstrap. So that's the framework that every developer use for the grid system, for the components and everything. Okay. Now what happens is the very first thing, even before we add the grid system, we need the container. Okay, in what part or what size of the page we want the content to be placed. So the standard size, okay, the standard size of the container for a laptop is either 1170 or you can also keep it 1200. That's fine. Okay, so we'll keep it 1200 for Bootstrap. So if I open up the Bootstrap website, right? And if you also open up the same thing, you will see that in the docs. Instead, yeah. So you see this containers, right? Sorry, 1140, not 70, right? So for the laptop, the container size is 1140, and if I see it on a bigger screen, say HD screen, which is 1920 by 1080, then the container is 1320. Okay. Now here we will take it as 1140. Okay, done. Now the new trend is that a lot of people use Flex. Okay, now Flex is again a CSS property, a development property. We don't have to learn that. So with Flex, what has happened is even if you use Bootstrap, right, you can still have your own grid system. You can still design your own grid system. And for that, usually nowadays, people keep it as 1200 because the majority of the screen size has now changed to 1440. Previously, it was 1367. But now, majority of the laptops have the resolution of 1440. Okay? So that's why we will take 1200 as the grid. Now the next step what we'll do is we'll create this box, a random box, but the width has to be 1200. We'll center it to the frame. Okay. We'll center it to the frame and then we will
So Figma is not presented. Bootstrap is presented.
sorry. My bad. Yeah. So we'll take a box whose width is 1200 and we'll center the line. And now we'll take a ruler from the left and we'll just mark the container length. That's it. And we don't need the box anymore. So now we have finalized the grid system. Okay, the grid system is 1200. Now coming to the sorry, we have finalized the container, and now the container width is 1200. Now we'll have to add the grid. So we select the artboard, and then we add the layout grid. So you see the by default one is the grid, which is this. We don't want this. So there's always a column grid which we will follow. So now we have different columns like this. This is a column grid. Now how to create that grid is what we are going to do. I click on this. I select column. You see by default I have 5 columns. So instead of that I said we will always use 12 columns. How much? 12 columns. Now here we will keep it the center. Now if you see the width of the grid is 10 pixels. We'll first use a random calculation and we'll do this. And 80 is the width. Okay. But with Bootstrap, Okay, with Bootstrap, there are different aspects of grid. So the first thing is the column, that is done. Second is the count, which will always be 12 for the website. Third is the width of the column, this width of the column. And the last thing is the gutter space, which is this space between. You see this space between, right? So what we will do is, instead of 20, we will keep this space as 15. Sorry, we'll keep this gutter space as 30. Okay. Now, what happens is, between these two columns, the space here is of 30 pixels. So now you see the grid is going out of the container, correct? So here, if you see, there is a formula that I have created, which is container width, gutter space. So the column width, how do you come to that column width? It is container size, which is 1200 divided by 12, which is, of course, 1200 divided by 12 is 100, and minus the gutter space. So we have taken the gutter space as 30. That comes to 70. Now, if you see, we have got the perfect grid. Right? So the first step, take the frame. Second step, add the container of the width 1200. Third step, add the layout grid. Fourth step, change the grid to a column grid instead of a grid. Inside column grid, fifth step, add the count as 12, right? Width is 70 and gutter space as 30. This is how you create a grid. Now everything you design will fall under this grid. For example, if you have a section, a banner section, a first one, what we usually do is we take some random size. Now, since we have the grid, we will take this entire container as this, right? From this to this. Span house immediately. Yeah. Now the second option. Say for example, I need two boxes next to each other. So now what I'll do is I'll have one box here. So I'll count, right? I need equal boxes, so I'll count the grid. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now this is a 6-column grid. And second is this. So these are now equal, and we have the gutter space of 30 pixels. Clear? So this way, when we create when we create layouts, now this box, correct? Forget this as a box and think that this is a row. Now this width of this row is how much columns? So this is 12 columns. This row is of 6 columns, correct? So overall, whatever you do, you need the sum, the total of the rows to be 12. So for example, I can create a layout of with 3 boxes, say 4 boxes. Yeah, sorry, 3 boxes. So 4, 4, and 4, right? So I now know that these are not equal. So I have to correct. This is how we create. So now if you see that the 15 pixels here are always extra, so I have to do this while creating such layouts. Correct, even for this, right? So that I can leave that padding. Correct. This is how you create layouts like 333. I can also do this as 444, right? I can just do this 333. Yeah. The first one is 3, second also moves to 3. Yeah, and then we have this third one. Correct. So this way we can have multiple options. Correct. Any doubts? Anyone? Raise your hands, please. So what is the purpose of the grid? So before the grid, right, what we were doing is we were designing it randomly. So let me pull up the wireframes that we are working on. So before grid, we were designing it very randomly. There was no fixed height or width or anything of that sort. This. So now let me put this across in a grid, and we'll see the difference, how beautiful it looks. So let me copy this. We remove these unwanted boxes. Let me paste this here. Okay. Now if you see, I know that this particular thing is not aligned. See, first thing, this is not in grid. I'll add this in the grid. This is not in the grid. I'll add this in the grid. Okay. The images can be outside. That's completely fine. But if you see this now, this is the important piece. This is fine. It's in the center, so I don't need a grid there. But here, you see the size of the box. Previously, it was all random. Correct. So now I have to use the grid and keep it of appropriate size. Here also the alignment, it was just here and there, correct? So the developers need proper grid. So that's why we'll use this grid. So there is a space in between, and now it is more aligned. So if I see this, the space here is off, the size is off. But if I see this now, correct, it looks much more cleaner. So now using the grid, if I want to give more space, I can do that. So if I feel that no, I want to do this, I can do it. Correct? I can. That's fine. Okay. ऐसा हम कर सकते हैं. So it has to be the grid. You don't use the gutter space, by the way, you leave that. So this is how you then align things. Okay. But ये appropriate नहीं है honestly. It has to be here. अब इसके अंदर मान लो I had these two boxes. तो ये ऐसा होता, correct? So what I can do is here I can leave another 15 pixel का padding, because when the developers code this again, ये जब ऐसा करेंगे वो, right? So you see ये पूरा यहाँ पर चिपक गया है. So I can still leave another 15 pixels here, ऐसे, and I can remove this. So this looks much more neat now. Right? This way. So that's why we use the grid, to keep things perfectly aligned, and that helps the developer. The number of grid is fixed, or we have to change it according to the sizes? No, the number of grid is fixed, which is 12 columns. Okay. Bhavika, are you fine now with the container, or you still have the doubt? So container is the center portion of the page. Okay. Okay, it's done. Anyone else? Any doubts with the grid? Yeah, Rohan.
So the height of the elements that we put into this, for example, an image or a container, can differ according to us, right?
Yeah, height does not matter.
Mean the width
Height
matters
doesn't matter. Yes, width
based on the
matters. Height
container.
does not. Yes.
Okay, okay.
Anyone else? Yeah, Supriya.
सर एक्चुअली आई वांट टू आस्क, मतलब जैसे आपने बिकम अ यूआईएक्स डिजाइनर लिखा है, इन दी एंड इन दी सेकंड आर यू वन ऑफ देम, तो जो स्पेसिंग है वो सबके लिए डिफरेंट होगी या फिर मतलब?
नहीं, उस पर भी मैं आऊंगा. उसकी अलग ग्रिड सिस्टम होती है.
ओके,
ठीक है. सो जो ये अभी हम जो ग्रिड देख रहे हैं ना, दैट इज ओनली फॉर द लेआउटिंग पर्पस. अब जब हम इंडिविजुअल एलिमेंट्स पे जाएंगे ना, so we use 8 point grids, we use 12 point grids. Okay. उस पे भी मैं आता हूँ. So are we okay with this for now? Any more doubts? ठीक है. So quickly, design the grid, and what you have to do is, ये जितने possible layouts है, जैसे एक तो ये single हो गया 1, then you have 2 2, you have 4 का 3, then you have 3 का 4, ऐसे और जितने layouts बन सकते हैं, just do that quickly. Quickly. and here only ask me if you have any doubts.
Sir, can you show the formula again?
Sure. So before going to the formula, let me explain you the concept quickly, because वो formula तक derive क्या हुआ formula है. It is not that you should buy it. So इसलिए I think let me explain you the concept. And again, Bhavika, that padding section I didn't understand. Padding section text वाला meaning what? ठीक है. In the meanwhile, see, conceptually, first thing is the container. हमको container पता चल गया 1200 है. ठीक है. हमको column पता चल गया 12 column है. Now, logically, अगर मुझे इस particular simple maths है, अगर मुझे इस पर्टिकुलर कॉलम की विड्थ जाननी है, फॉरगेट अबाउट द स्पेसिंग. ठीक है. मान लो कि कोई स्पेसिंग नहीं है. ओके, मैं एक बार बनाता हूँ एग्जांपल के लिए. मान लो, लेट्स गो स्टेप बाय स्टेप. ठीक है. अगेन, सो मान लो कोई स्पेसिंग नहीं है मेरे पास. माय गटर स्पेस इज 0. आई डोंट बिलीव इन गटर स्पेस. ठीक है. ऐसा. सो नाउ माय कंटेनर विड्थ इज कीप इट 1. ठीक है. बुरा मान लिया. ओह अच्छा अच्छा. So if I keep this as 0 and 100, so if you see now, ठीक है. So ये जो दिख रहा है स्पेस, वो इक्वली कॉलम डिवाइड हो गया. करेक्ट. यहाँ से लेके यहाँ तक मेरा एक कॉलम है. So if I have to do this, I will get 100 pixels. करेक्ट. This is 100. Now, अब जब हम डिजाइन बनाते हैं तो होता क्या है, हम बीच में स्पेसिंग छोड़ते हैं, which is logical. ये एग्जांपल बताता हूँ इसका. That it is very clear. जब ये दिख रहा है, अब इसमें ये स्पेस दिख रही है. करेक्ट. यू सी
Yes.
दिस स्पेस हियर. करेक्ट. ये सारी स्पेस दिख रही है. ये दिस इज नथिंग बट द गटर स्पेस. ओके. इफ आई सी दिस अदर एग्जांपल, ये दिख रहा है, यहाँ पर ये स्पेस दिख रही है, विच इज द सेम. ये दिख रहा है एवरीवन.
Yes.
दिस इज द गटर स्पेस. ये बॉक्स के बीच में स्पेस, राइट. दिस इज माय गटर स्पेस. क्योंकि बाय डिफॉल्ट अगर मुझे 4 बॉक्सेस बनाना है तो ये बीच में कोई स्पेस ही नहीं बचेगी, तो खराब दिखेगा ना लेआउट, एंड इट इज नॉट रीडेबल. सो दैट्स व्हाई we have the concept of gutter space. जो आप उसको छोड़ दोगे, वहां पर कुछ exist नहीं करता है. Okay, that's a dead space, right? So हम क्या करते हैं? Based on Bootstrap's framework, we give a gutter space of 30 pixels this way. ठीक है. अब हुआ क्या, जैसे ही मैंने 30 पिक्सल ऐड किया गटर स्पेस, तो मेरा जो एक विड्थ है, एक कॉलम की विड्थ है, वो 130 हो गई, क्योंकि वो गटर स्पेस को भी इंक्लूड तो करता है जो व्हाइट स्पेस है. तो हम क्या करते हैं, हम विड्थ को थोड़ा छोटा करते हैं सो दैट इट accommodates inside the container. हमारा मेन पर्पस है दैट द ग्रिड शुड बी इनसाइड द कंटेनर एंड इट शुड बी इक्वल. सो इसलिए ये बेसिक फॉर्मूला है, कंटेनर, ठीक है, डिवाइड बाय कॉलम्स माइनस द गटर स्पेस. फंडा क्लियर है एवरीवन?
Yes, sir.
क्लियर है? रोहन, प्रथम, सुप्रिया, भाविका, आदित्य,
Yes, sir.
मैत्री, अक्षय, राइट, ओके, परफेक्ट. सुकेशा, डन. किसी को कोई भी डाउट है तो अभी पूछना, बिकॉज दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. आप 50 बार पूछोगे, मैं 50 बार सिखा दूंगा, आई डोंट माइंड, बट समझना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट. कोई भी डाउट मत रखना, ये मत सोचना कि यार इतनी बार सिखा रहे, बाकी लोग क्या बोलेंगे, समझ में नहीं आ रहा है. डोंट थिंक, यू हैव पेड फॉर द कोर्स, यूटिलाइज इट. ask 1000 times, I don't mind, but ये concept समझना बहुत जरूरी है. Everyone clear with the grid concept? ठीक है.
Sir, so the main point is to accommodate everything inside the container, because of which the gutter space needs to be reduced down and column width needs to be as per the container itself.
So that is very standard. That gutter space of 30 pixel, no, it is very standard. So मान लो, चलो मान लो कि मैं ये मेरा आर्टबोर्ड साइज बढ़ा देता हूँ. So instead of 1440, it is now 1920. ठीक है. And I'll have to again fix my container to 1400 now. क्योंकि मैंने स्क्रीन साइज बढ़ा लिया है. ऑफकोर्स हम थोड़ा और स्पेस यूटिलाइज करेंगे, वरना इफ यू सी दिस, करेक्ट, वो बहुत वेकेंट स्पेस है ना लेफ्ट और राइट में. सो दैट्स व्हाई,
Yes, sir.
हाँ, सो आइदर यू कैन डू 1400 and many people nowadays also use 1600. ठीक है, many of them. So मान लो चलो 1600 हम यूज कर लो. सो इसको हम यहाँ पर रखेंगे. Okay, we'll use this and now we'll again align our grid. So हमारा गटर स्पेस तो 30 है, हम सिर्फ वो विड्थ बढ़ाएंगे so that it accommodates the, ठीक है. So now 100 pixel is my width, which is a little incorrect. इतना होगा, right? And gutter space is still the 30 pixel. Clear? Clear?
Yes,
So,
sir.
अगर मेरे को एकदम precise जाना है, so I am doing this calculation on my calculator right now. I have 1600 divided by 12. So my actual value that comes on the calculator is this.
So this calculated column width would be because we are not using margin का ये ना,
What margin?
मतलब अभी जैसे यहाँ पर कंटेनर्स में जो कॉलम्स दिए हुए उसके साइड्स में मार्जिन है.
हाँ, I'll come to that. वो अपने आप सेट हो जाएगा. See, so अभी सबसे पहले मैंने क्या किया, कंटेनर की जो width थी 1600, which is this, right? 1600, मैंने उसको डिवाइड बाय 12 किया तो मुझे ये वैल्यू मिली. तो मैं सबसे पहले क्या करूंगा, मैं यहाँ जाऊंगा, मैं वही वैल्यू लिखता हूँ 133.33. सो आई गेट अ फुल विड्थ, करेक्ट. उसने एंड टू एंड ले लिया, डिवाइड कर दिया उसको, एंड माय gutter space is still 30. Now what I have to do is, in my calculator, my gutter space is 30 fixed. So what I'll do is I'll do 133 minus 30. So I'll get 103. So the moment I do 103, I'll get the perfect width. Okay, I'll get the perfect width. Now if I see this now, this would be close to 15 pixels, this one. Yeah, क्लोज टू, बिकॉज वो 0.33 का गैप है ना, सो इसलिए उसने थोड़ी जगह ज्यादा छोड़ी है, विच इज फाइन, क्योंकि डेवलपमेंट में वो ठीक हो जाती है। इज इट क्लियर?
Sir,
Yes, sir.
हाँ बोलिए।
sir, so when making a grid system for desktop, so 1200 is always fixed, right? According to Bootstrap.
Depends on the frame size.
Okay.
So now this is
So what is the frame size? आप एक बार frame size समझा सकते हो?
this artboard size हमारा।
Okay, okay, okay.
हाँ, so जैसे अभी मैंने आर्टबोर्ड साइज लिया है 1920 बाय 1080, उसके बीच में ग्रिड मैंने ली है 1600 की। तो आई फर्स्ट डिवाइडेड द 1600 into 12 एंड मैंने गटर स्पेस उसमें से माइनस किया, सो आई गॉट 103। क्लियर? ये फंडा है। सेम चीज मैंने जब यहाँ की थी ये वाले में, सो यहाँ पे मेरा जो आर्टबोर्ड है दैट इज 1440, मेरा जो ग्रिड है दैट इज 12, सो यहाँ पे मुझे मेरा विड्थ मिला था 70। एवरीवन क्लियर?
Sir, so my question was left a little bit. Can I ask?
एक सेकेंड ना, सॉरी। हाँ प्रथम, राइट?
Yes, sir.
हाँ हाँ बोलिए।
तो सर इसमें जो 1200 is always fixed, number of columns is also always fixed, so the gutter space can be changed, right? And according to us.
नो, गटर स्पेस कैन नॉट बी चेंज। आप एक बार ग्रिड चेंज कर सकते हो, जैसे कि मैंने आपको बताया, राइट, कि बूटस्ट्रैप में ये 1200 नहीं है। इफ आई हैव टू फॉलो एग्जैक्टली लाइक बूटस्ट्रैप,
हाँ।
ठीक है, तो देखिए मेरा क्या होगा यहाँ पे। सो मैं इसको एक बार 1140 करता हूँ, राइट, तो मेरा देखो कंटेनर छोटा हो गया, ये हो गया, करेक्ट।
Okay.
अब मैं 1440 को 12 से डिवाइड करूंगा, अरे सॉरी 1140 को डिवाइड बाय 12, so I get 95 as my width, but gutter space is still 30. Oh sorry, I'm wrong. Minus 1140 divided by 12 minus 30. Yeah, it comes out to be 65, not 90. 65. Yeah, so ये देखो ये वापस सेट हो गया उस ग्रिड में। Let's just give me a second, it's an important part. Yeah, so clear है प्रथम?
Yes, sir.
नहीं, सिर्फ हाँ बोलने के लिए हाँ मत बोलो, नहीं समझ में आया तो टेल मी अपफ्रंट।
मतलब I didn't understood that is it supposed to remain fixed always or can it change according to our design?
नो नो नो, ग्रिड सिस्टम स्टैंडर्ड है, 12
Okay.
कॉलम है। कंटेनर की साइज है ना,
हाँ.
उसमें लिमिटेशन है। इफ द डेवलपर इज यूजिंग बूटस्ट्रैप एज इट इज,
Okay, so it depends on the developer.
करेक्ट। सो जब हम डिजाइन बना रहे हैं वी हैव टू मेक श्योर, या
Hmm.
फिर यू हैव टू कन्वे टू द डेवलपर दैट आई एम नॉट यूजिंग अ बूटस्ट्रैप ग्रिड। इफ
Okay.
इफ माय कंटेनर width is 1140, then it's a bootstrap grid.
Hmm.
If it is not, then it's a custom grid. So you have to convey this to your developer.
Okay.
इतना ही difference.
समझ गया sir. Now I got it.
Okay. Now
Yes.
let me also share uh, one more thing. So ये हमने देखा इसका क्या बोलते हैं वेब का, करेक्ट. So here now what will happen is in the mobile, correct? In the mobile version, we will have a little different grid. Mobile app, responsive में तो सब नीचे नीचे आ जाएगा, वो सिमिलर होगी वेब से, उसमें 12 कॉलम्स नहीं होंगे, बट जो भी चीजें होती है वो सब फुल विथ हो जाएगी मोबाइल रिस्पॉन्सिव में. ओके, लेकिन लेट मी शो यू द ग्रिड फॉर द मोबाइल ऐप. ओके, सो मोबाइल ऐप में 12 ग्रिड्स नहीं होते, 12 कॉलम नहीं होते, वी ओनली हैव 4. तो पहले हम इसको चेंज करके 375 करते हैं. 3 will have 1 8 1 2. ओके, इसको हम हटा देते हैं. There is remove this also. ठीक है, अब ना ये वाले इसमें we will only have 4. ठीक है, we will have 4 columns only. Done. We will have 4 columns. अब इसमें हमको क्या करना है ना, we will have a stretch grid instead and तो यहाँ पर width का ऑप्शन चला गया. सो irrespective ये 375 है या 360 है, क्योंकि मोबाइल में if I see right there are n number of options. If you see this 430 है, वो तो सबके लिए सेट करना डिफिकल्ट है, तो इसलिए अब मोबाइल में हम क्या करते हैं ना, we keep the grid as stretch. लेकिन जो गटर स्पेस है इसको हम इवन नंबर रखेंगे which is 18 fixed. And जो margin है will keep it as 24. So क्या होगा, we get the center automatically. ये दिख रहा है. So यहाँ से 24 पिक्सल, यहाँ से 24 पिक्सल, and center is the 18 पिक्सल. Clear है? So 9 this side, 9 this side. Is the mobile grid clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
से अभी हमने वो जो navigation वगैरह जो बनाया था, I'll open up this. Yeah. So now let's see how will our wireframe or the design look if I design this in a grid. You see the difference yourself. You see this? दिख रहा है, चीजें सब यहाँ जा रही है ना, ये इसके बाहर है, so इसको हम यहाँ रखेंगे, करेक्ट. ये यहाँ थोड़ा ज्यादा है, यहाँ रखेंगे. We'll keep this also aligned here. ये भी हम यहाँ से शुरू करेंगे. This can go outside because this is going to be horizontal scroll. ये दिख रहा है अगेन ऐसे. अब इसमें भी either I can have like a partial grid. मोबाइल में it is okay, right? जैसे यहाँ पर मैं वैसा partial grid यूज कर सकता हूँ. Unlike website, keep it straight here also. अगर मुझे यहाँ 3 बनाने हैं 4 में, so what I'll do is I'll use 1.5. I'll leave the space of 8 pixel and then I'll do this. ऐसे, ठीक है. And if I need like a complete this thing, it has to be in this one. ऐसा आएगा. So 1.3 1.3 ये automatic जो basic calculation है, correct? So इस तरीके से हमारे लेआउट फिर थोड़े चेंज हो जाएंगे in when we use the grid. So this looks a lot better than before. क्योंकि पहले सारी spacing random थी, right? ये भी. So यहाँ पे I can straight away do this. And I can have 1 in 1 column. बस that's it. And then ऐसे, right? ये मैं कर सकता हूँ. क्लियर है? यहाँ पर भी अगर मैं so this is why grid is important. Is it clear everyone? मोबाइल का देख लिया फंडा. वेरी सिंपल. मोबाइल में कोई ज्यादा तामझाम नहीं है, कोई कंटेनर का फंडा नहीं है. We have 4 columns Okay, we have 24 as margin and we have 18 as gutter space. Clear everyone? कोई doubts mobile में? Okay, चलो perfect. ठीक. So आज के लिए ज्ञान में इतना ही है. Now it is time for practical thing to do. Post this lecture itself by 11 p.m. Everyone has to create these grids. ठीक है? You have to create a grid system for 1440, create a grid system for 1920. एंड जैसे मैंने बताया ऐसे आप जितने लेआउट बना सकते हो 1K 333 444 222 ऐसे जितने आप लेआउट बना सकते हो जस्ट कीप ऑन क्रिएटिंग दोज लेआउट्स. ओके, बॉक्स एंड क्रिएट वन फॉर द मोबाइल. ओके, ये नहीं बनाना है अंदर का, बट जस्ट क्रिएट द ग्रिड फॉर द मोबाइल. सबको वो स्क्रीन व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप पे शेयर करनी है बाय 11 PM शार्प. कोई लेट नहीं करेगा. इज इट क्लियर? कोई डाउट्स?
No, sir.
ऑलराइट, परफेक्ट. एंड मेक श्योर कि कल तक आप वो कलर थियरी वाला लेक्चर भी देख लो सब लोग. ओके, एंड मैं कल एक और लेक्चर भेजूंगा विच इज माय रिकॉर्डेड लेक्चर. इट्स अबाउट टाइपोग्राफी एंड एवरीथिंग, लेकिन हम वो फ्राइडे को भी वापस कवर करेंगे. ओके, if not on Friday, we'll do it over the weekend, but we will again cover it. But I want you guys to first look at it. The reason I'm telling this is why you guys have to see it, so that when I teach it to you, आप बहुत जल्दी उसको पकड़ लो. क्योंकि जो मैं उस दिन सिखाऊंगा मैंने ऑलरेडी सिखाया है, लेकिन I want you guys to understand it even better. इसलिए आपका 2 बार रिवीजन हो जाए. इसलिए I want you guys to see that particular lecture also. Okay, उसका भी मैं आपको लिंक कल भेजूंगा. I don't want to bombard you guys with too many stuff together. So इसलिए make sure सबसे पहले ये ग्रेड करो, उसके बाद आप वो कलर थियरी वाला लेक्चर पूरा कंप्लीट करो. And then when we meet next, we will look at the typography and everything. And before that, we will go through the grid system of the elements. जो सुप्रिया का डाउट था ना, the spacing between the elements, वो भी हम कवर करेंगे हमारे नेक्स्ट लेक्चर. So column वाला ऑप्शन आएगा when you do this. Click on the frame, you go to this layout grid, and यहाँ पे ऊपर ड्रॉप डाउन में कॉलम है. ठीक है? Have you got? Okay, चलो cool, that's ठीक है. So that's it for today. I am really excited to see what you guys will do next, right? So make sure that you give your 100% and looking forward for your assignments. Take care, guys. Take care, guys. Bye. Good night.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.